You've been watching this. I unplugged for a little bit, as much as I can, which is not completely, for a couple of days there. But what is your take at this point? Israel the IDF is massing at the border. Something of the order of 360,000 or more troops have been called up. You've got Hezbollah working the northern end of Israel. They're prepared. There is Israel to fight back. We've seen a lot of things. What is your assessment? What are we, 9-10 days in now?
It's just a ugly situation. We're getting mixed signals from the Biden administration. Blinken is crisscrossing the Middle East. I'm not sure exactly what his goal and his objectives are, but there's a real possibility that this escalates to include Hezbollah. It escalates to include attacks from Syria. And then the big question mark is what happens from Iran and China's role in all of this. We've seen this now for the last 18 to 20 months. It's the Russian, Iranian, China axis of evil. They've created instability and war in Europe, the bloodiest war in Europe since World War II. They've created a bloody war now in the Middle East. And, where does it go from here? There's no end in sight at this point.
Well, that's the real question here. And so this is what I talked about to start the program today. When Crimea was invaded by Russia, Barack Obama was president. This attack, this really is an unprecedented attack, the worst massacre of Jews since World War II as well, happened on Joe Biden's watch. This didn't happen when Donald Trump was president. This did not happen when Donald Trump was president. It happens under weak leadership or leadership that the world believes will not react in the same way that a Republican would, clearly. Because I don't think that the people in the Middle East and worldwide, for that matter, would not have pulled this stunt with the previous administration because they knew that he would react. They knew that Donald Trump would step up and hit like a sledgehammer. And we've got, Anthony Blinken wandering around lost because he is. And again, I go back to Senator John McCain saying Blinken was a danger to this country because he is and should never be in any position of power. And yet here he is, Secretary of State, worst of my lifetime. Wouldn't have happened under Trump. What do you make of that?
I think that's the correct analysis. And, the same thing, history is repeating itself. You had President Obama saying, don't cross the red line in Syria.
And they did.
They did. And we did nothing. President Joe Biden gets on and says one word, don't. Warning Hezbollah, Iran, and other folks that might get involved in this conflict in Israel. And I don't think that people in the Middle East are quaking in fear in response to Joe Biden's don't comment. It's an effective marketing ploy, just like saying don't cross the red line. But I don't believe people in the Middle East take it seriously.
How could they possibly? We have the weakest president of my lifetime, the weakest in American history here. But I want to focus on something else for just a minute. We'll get back to some of that in a moment. But here's the big concern that we've all known this, every one of us, you, me, and everybody listening right now. Since the moment this started, from the first moment any of us heard about this, we said, my God, they're among us. They are. Because we've left the border wide open. And now Christopher Wray, the, suspect leader of the FBI, director of the FBI, is warning us to be vigilant. And at the same time, these fools on the left say, hey, give up your guns. Yeah, you don't need why would you need an AR-15? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because you left the border open. Just a thought, Pete.
What is it? 14, somewhere between 10, 12, 14 million people have crossed the border.
Knows.
Nobody knows. And, we've been saying, I think you and I and many others have been saying, We have no idea who's coming across the border. We know that Iran, Hezbollah, Iranian proxies, they have been in Venezuela. They have been in Central America. Were they coming into the United States? Absolutely. They've been coming across the border for the last 3 years. It's an unmitigated disaster. And now to have the FBI saying, hey, we need to be on heightened alert for potential terrorist attacks here in the United States, it's kind of like, where have you been for the last 3 years? Why haven't you been speaking out against the threat of people coming across the border? It's people, it's drugs, it's terrorists, it's the Chinese. They've all been coming in, and it's 14. I think it's somewhere between 10 and 14 million. I love this term that they use, the known gotaways. We know the people we've captured or stopped at them, and we haven't captured them. We stopped them at the border. We're just indexing them. We're cataloging them. Then we have the known gotaways, people that supposedly have been spotted that we haven't been able to catalog. And then what about the unknown gotaways? The people that crossed the border and we never spotted them because we really weren't even looking for them. It's an unmitigated disaster. We are now more at risk here in our homeland than we've probably been at any time since 9/11. And it was because it's the most foolish strategy.
Strategy?
We see what you...
No, strategy would indicate that we actually had a plan.